Recording. All right, you all. We are now beginning Klein Artist Works 21, or continuing. This is the 21st time that I have been doing this. I took the summer off, which was kind of nice. And so this is like 7 years or something I've been doing this. I find it really, really satisfying. And it's important for me to be able to give and to see people get results. And you guys do that for me. I want to see you succeed. By you succeeding, by you accomplishing what you are after, good things happen for me. You know, some of this comes, I mean, we'll talk a lot about generosity, and generosity I think is super important. It might be the secret sauce. This works. There's a lot of energy and people sharing with each other, and goodwill that happens. I think part of the problem that artists have, maybe humans, is self-doubt. And it's harder with an artist, I think, to appreciate feedback or, to know where your sustenance comes from. So to some extent, I want to talk about that. Before we get fully going, cranking in this thing, I want to take a moment, and I would like each of you to say hello and to, I guess, tell me where you are at the moment. Not like I'm in the dining room. I would like it to be like I'm on Vancouver Island, or I am in Saudi Arabia, something like that. So I'm going to go in the order in which I see people. Clyde, you are unmuted. Where are you?
I'm in the Oklahoma City metro area, a town called Midwest City.
Beautiful. How long have you been making art?
Pretty much all my life, but I've only, within the last 8 months, decided to try and make a career out of it.
Fabulous. This is coincidental, but Mark, you are next. Mark, where are you?
I'm in Oklahoma City, but in a township called The Village. So I actually live in a village.
And you and Clyde are both in Oklahoma City and don't know each other, right?
Correct. Except by email and by thumbnail right there.
Yep. I think that's pretty fun. This is also,
and I've been doing it for 40 years. I've been in the industry for 40 years.
Beautiful.
But very seriously for the last 20, and the most serious for the last probably 10.
Sounds fantastic. I think there are people in this course who come from a whole range of abilities, and I think we really benefit by hearing people's stories and understanding, their trajectory. And I think by getting that, it helps us be able to reflect and see ourselves better too. Kay, where are you, Kay?
I'm in London.
Awesome. Are you awake?
Just about, I think. I'm not dreaming.
Fabulous. Seems like I've worked with quite a few artists in London. I will, share some names and see if we can introduce you to some people over time.
Good
Glad
stuff.
to have you with us. Thank you. Thank you, Kay.
Thank you.
Sarah Harper, where are you?
New Zealand. I live in Diamond Harbour.
You're in New Zealand, but your volume is a little low. Maybe you're going to have to, when you talk, be closer, or maybe go to Fiji.
Is there a volume button?
You know what? I don't know if there is or not. I think basically you just have to yell.
Okay, I'll speak up.
But you're in New Zealand. Awesome. Glad to have you with us. Thank you. Margaret Widmer, where are you, Margaret? Wait a minute. I got to unmute you. Okay, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm in Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
Fabulous. How long have you been making art?
About 30 years.
Fantastic. Sarah, I'm coming back to you. How long have you been making art?
About nearly 30 years.
300? What did you say?
300, no, about 25 years.
Awesome.
25.
All right. KJ, I need to pronounce your name correctly, and I don't have it right yet. Say your name properly. Say it.
Okay, my name is Halai Jimasi. Halai.
Halai. So the K is kind of silent. Halai Jamasi. Do you go by KJ or do you go by Halai?
By KJ.
Okay. Where are you?
I'm in Saudi Arabia.
But you're not Saudi Arabian, are you?
No. I'm African. I come from Kenya. I've been in Saudi Arabia for 5 years.
Why are you there?
I came to teach. Teach English, right? And I've been doing art all my life, but I've been doing it seriously for the last 3 years.
Very good. Thank you. Glad to have you with us. Diane Hunt, where are you?
I'm in Maryland.
Whereabouts?
The Eastern Shore, Chestertown, a little town you probably never heard of.
That's true. Fantastic. Glad to have you with us. How long have you been making art?
Most of my life. I graduated college in '79, but like I said before, I didn't do much until more recently. I've only gotten back into oil painting the last year, so.
Wonderful. Glad to have you here. Dorothy, unmuted. Where are you? Dorothy, go ahead.
I'm currently in Vietnam.
And
I'm in Ho Chi Minh.
Where are you from?
I'm French.
Are you speaking French in Vietnam?
Not really.
Are you speaking Vietnamese or English?
No, we are using English. Vietnamese is a very complicated language. I'm trying, but not very successfully.
All right, fabulous. How long have you been making art?
Let's say 7 years.
Beautiful. All right, interesting. Thank you. Jeff Horton, greetings. Where are you, Jeff?
Hi, from in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Outstanding. And how long have you been involved in making art?
Most of my life, but probably seriously for the last 15 years.
Cool, thank you. Ann Farley Gaines, where are you, Ann?
Chicago. Pilsen,
Cool. I like her.
Yeah.
How long have you been making art?
Seriously, for over 40 years.
And I'm not so seriously?
No, let's just say that when I was in my very late teens, I made the decision to focus on.
Beautiful. Thank you. Mary Woolley, where are you, Mary? I didn't hear you. Wait. I have unmuted. You do it. Nope, you're muted. You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm in Finland.
Awesome.
Yeah, I live near in the metro Helsinki area, but right now I'm on an island about an hour and a half west of the city in the Baltic.
How long have you been making art?
30 years. I'm a graphic designer.
Are you Finnish?
No, I'm from Louisiana.
That's not Finnish. Okay.
Originally.
All right.
I've lived here over 20 years.
Interesting.
I'm not Finnish. I mangle the language fluently.
Understood. Thank you. Ethel, where are you?
I'm in Bali currently.
Outstanding. And where were you raised?
In Estonia,
Awesome.
next to Finland.
And next stop is Louisiana. I got Bali. That's interesting. How long have you been making art?
About 6-7 years since I came to Indonesia.
You are not the first artist from Bali to be in this course.
That was probably, gosh, Donna Townend was there before.
Yes, Donna was, but I think somebody else also. But yeah, small world. Fascinating. Thank you for being with us. Andy, where are you?
Somerville, Massachusetts.
Awesome. How long have you been doing art?
50 years.
Good for you. All right. Thank you. Janice Turner, where are you?
I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Got it. And how long have you been making art?
All my adult life, but out on my own doing this kind of art just the last 5 years.
Exciting. Cool. Thank you very much. Joe, welcome to the group. Where are you?
I'm sitting here in West Sacramento, California.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's the temperature?
Oh, it's very pleasant. It's probably in the upper 70s.
Cool. I spent a lot of time in the Bay Area. I'm pretty familiar with Northern California. How long have you been making art?
So pretty much all my life. Previously as a graphic artist, since about '89, I've been exhibiting in galleries, and I like the mix between the galleries and doing public art.
Sounds outstanding. Thank you. Beth, greetings. Where are you, Beth?
I'm in Oyster Bay, Long Island, New York, and I've been making art about 45 years.
This is good. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dannielle, greetings. Where are you, Dannielle?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh, hello. I'm on the big island of Hawaii.
Isn't this exciting? People, you know, I've been doing this course 7 years. I really want to get some people from other planets. Maybe next lifetime. How long have you been making art, Dannielle?
So there's a part of me that wants to say 48 years since I took my first breath. And the other part of me that's manifested it, I'd say like 2013 when I left my naturopathic medical practice.
Have you been in Hawaii your whole life?
No, I just arrived about a year ago.
Interesting. I wonder how many people have moved how many times from one culture to another culture, from one country to another country. There's a fair amount of movement among people in this group. That's interesting. I don't know if that becomes something we focus on, not focus on, I'm not sure. Dannielle, thank you very much. Susan, where are you, Susan?
Hello, from Victoria, beautiful BC.
Awesome, beautiful there. There's a few, Victoria's gorgeous. There's a few artists who participated from Vancouver, which I realize is far away, but.
I noticed that, yeah, the guy that did the light work, the
There's
fellow.
a few, there's like 4 or 5, and there's some other artists who've been on Vancouver Island. How long have you been involved in art?
For about 7 years intently.
Got it. If you can figure out how to add your last name by clicking on participants and then clicking on your name, and if Paul could do the same thing so we don't refer to him as Anita, it might be a good thing. But Paul, if you want to be Anita, you know, this is a good place to confront this or to come out. It's okay. We love you, Paul. It's all good. While you figure that out, we're going over to William. Hi, William.
Hi, how are you doing?
Excellently. Where are you?
I am in Columbus, Ohio. So I've been doing art for about 14 years, but I came back here to go to grad school, so more intensely for about the last 6.
What was grad school in?
I started in landscape architecture, and then I added an MFA in studio art and technology.
Got it. Very good. Thank you very much. Hey, Paul, I can come to you if you want, but maybe we could ask somebody else how to do this. I'm just coming to you, Paul. And oh, you did it. Good. All right. Now that you know, all right, now that you are Paul, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in central Iowa, by Des Moines. And I've been doing it almost 40 years. I started.
Fabulous. You know, it's really interesting. I wonder about things like that. I mean, like there's a lot of good art that happens near or in Des Moines. And then there's some cities, you know, that are Des Moines size in the United States that have like next to nothing going on. You know, and then you talk about all these people who go to Europe where it seems like culture matters. Where in the United States, unfortunately, it seems like guns matter or something. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know. I wish we had a greater appreciation of culture here. Jose, we finally got started, dude. Jose signed up, I think, in June or May or something like that, maybe 3 years ago. Jose, welcome. We get to talk live. How are you?
I'm feeling pretty good, having a whiskey and enjoying all this. So.
Whiskey? I thought you were going to say you had a wisdom tooth pulled. I think whiskey's way better. A whiskey? You know, I think you're supposed to share. Where are you?
Oh, man. Virtually, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, where am I from? I'm from Lima. I'm in Chicago. I've been here for more than 40 years. And I've been doing art all my life and actually keeping it since probably 1979.
From Lima, Peru?
Yeah.
How often do you return?
Often. I've lived there several times. I'm known in the art world there. I participated in the Lima Biennales of 98 and 2000. So it's a very thriving art community there.
That's beautiful. There's like 3 artists who participated from Lima in the course previously.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Yeah. Octavio Felipe and Rafael Gianfranco. I think you'd like him.
Oh, you got to connect me with those guys.
Yeah, definitely. I will. I mean, that's part of it. My son went to Peru for like 3-4 weeks this summer, and he's a little odd. So his, his impressions, I think, were really inaccurate. I've been around, and my daughter just went to Ecuador and came back, and they're totally different kinds of tourists. So
Lima's got the top chef in the world right now. And yeah, he's got a great restaurant. There's 3 of the top chefs in the world are in Lima right now.
So you're not going to share the whiskey, but you're going to take us all to dinner?
Not in Chicago. You go to Tanta. It's probably the best place here. We'll go
to Lima with you. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, we've got to do something. Maybe a ceviche.
That's a start. All right. Welcome to the group. Clara, where are you? How are you?
Good. I am in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
How do you pronounce your first name?
Clara.
Clara. All right. I had 3 choices. I got the third. All right. I'll see if I can get this right. Thank you. How long have you been making art?
Seriously, for 12 years.
Cool. All right. Welcome to the group. Carrie, good evening. How are you? Where are you?
Hi. I'm in Corvallis, Oregon.
Fabulous. And how long have you been doing art?
Since 1987, but I consider myself re-emerging into my art.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you. Welcome to the group. Greetings, Brian. Where are you?
I'm here in Brooklyn, New York.
Fabulous. Wait, we got one other person from New York. Who was that?
Yeah, I'm sorry I came late.
Yeah, Beth was. That's okay. I'm sure it'll never happen again. Don't worry about it. How long have you been making art?
Since the 80s, off and on. I have spent some time traveling in Asia for 5 years when I kind of stopped.
Good
and
for
then
you.
I started again when I came back, and I moved to New York, and then I got married and went into real estate for a while, and I've sort of done okay with that now, and so I'm pulling out of that. I can support my family with that, and I'm getting back into art again.
Cool. Dorothy, I think you're the only person I haven't covered, and I already covered you, right? Is there anybody I haven't? I think you moved position. I don't know how you did that. Is there anybody who I haven't said hello to? Dorothy, did we talk to you? We did, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
we did.
Yeah. All right. So, based on what you guys said, I want to, I think that there's some things I should point out. My experience is that it is difficult that having been a graphic designer makes it difficult to segue into fine art. And I want to explain some of this. And I think this is relevant to everybody. Maybe I need to back up a step. I don't know that there's anything you don't understand about the art world. I believe that you probably know pretty damn much what you need to know. The problem is you think you need other knowledge. The art world is not different than how you interact with people in your life, in your community, in your home, in your room, in your building, on your block. And the reference to being on your block, I think, is particularly relevant. All of you care about what goes on your block. It has some bearing on your life. People on your block may or may not agree with you aesthetically, politically, religiously, food-wise, or anything, but you still care about them a little bit because they're on your block, right? And if their life is a little bit better, maybe your life is a little bit better. And maybe if you hate that schmuck and you wish they would, implode, you probably think you and they would be both better off if you could have a nice attitude. I think the same kind of thing exists a lot in the art world. An awful lot is about realizing that you are existing in a pretty small community where there's a really good likelihood that people know each other or know somebody who knows the next person. There are only 600 people in the entire art world, and 30 of them are right here in this room. Okay? I mean, that's, I mean, obviously it's more than 600, but it's small. You are navigating a small sphere. To navigate that successfully, it's important to be a nice human being. You know, think again about the analogy of people on your block. To some extent, you give a shit about what they do for a living. But really, not that much, unless they're a doctor and you have an owie and you need it fixed. But mostly you care about how they smile and say hello and whether they pet your dog and, you know, greet you and make your day look a little bit better or not. The same thing exists in the art world. Relationships are insanely important. Relationships, Clyde, unfortunately, are more important than the art. We would like people to like us for our art. We would like our art to be the genius that they recognize are so brilliant. But pretty much those folks are just as insufficient as we are, and they're not sure what they like unless they've been around for a while, but if they like you, they know they like you. It is important for you to be likable. It is important for you to be you. It is important for you to express your personality in yourself as you encounter the world and in your art. And I began this by commenting about how graphic design was a bit of a challenge. The graphic design part comes in because as a graphic designer, you are trying to satisfy the client with your creative juices. And your mindset is focusing on what the other wants, delivering the other. And my experience is while that can work, a more successful strategy is to be yourself and to placate, satisfy, challenge yourself and to realize and dig in as much as you can to reveal yourself. And the weirder, stranger, goofier, more sincere, honest, genuine, authentic you are, the more people relate. The more they get what you're talking about, what you're trying to communicate. If it's another pretty picture, it sort of gets registered as another pretty picture, and it sort of gets just passed over. If it has something in it that distinguishes it, somebody is going to slow down and give it time and hopefully get a glimpse of your soul, create a connection, and have a light go on inside them where they benefit from the aesthetic cultural experience. Most artists, I'm shifting gears here slightly, most artists feel like they have no choice but to make art. It isn't I think I want to be a NASCAR race car driver, or no, I think I'll be an artist. It isn't like that, typically. I think I'll be a banker. No, I think I'll be an artist. Usually it's like, damn it, I'm an artist and there's nothing I can do about it and I can't get out from under this and it's a blessing and I love it and it's a curse and let's go with it. And then you have to figure out how to navigate your way in the art world. But so much of it is about being who you are. Now, in being who you are, I think it's always important to dig better and try and make yourself better tomorrow and try and have growth and realize this experience and put it into your artwork. As I looked at these different webinars that I asked you guys to listen to, watch, I totally get the feeling that these people are not particularly different than you. That they have a vision, they have a desire to accomplish something, that they go out and do it, that they had a fair amount of struggles, that some connection, some relationship made sense. You know, my sense also is from having done this for 7 years that the people in the course, it feels pretty much the same. I mean, people who take the course go, I want more, and then I work with them for 5 years, and now they're having museum shows, and they're having one-person shows, and they're going, and I'm going, how is it? And they're going, it's the same thing. I'm still pushing. I'm still struggling. I still want more. This is a process. This is not a goal-oriented thing. If I gave each of you, not that I could, but if I gave each of you $1 million, I don't think you would stop making art. I think you might make bigger art or more expensive art or more glorious art, but I don't think it's going to change who you are a whole lot. You are not in this for the money, I don't think. You're in this for the life, because this is what you do, because to an extent you're a religious leader, you know, and you're a shaman. And you're looking for a following of a few people who see the light that you are shining on the world, people who can look through your eyes and see the world a little bit differently, and that difference benefits them. You're doing this because it enables you to feel more complete as a human being, I hope. As a result of this, unfortunately, this resembles therapy more than here's the 3 steps to getting a gallery. You know, this is much more about being a complete, whole person and realizing that as an artist, everything in your life is part of your life, and everything in your life is part of your art. And everything in your life you can call on to bring into your art. If you have a disagreement with your partner, it affects your art. If you have a non-disagreement and a holistic, wonderful thing with your partner, that affects your art. It's all in there. To an extent, you can go into your art and find a nice, quiet, private place. But still, what goes into your art is a product of your life and who you are. You know, some of us feel like the 20-year-olds are the ones who have all the perks. The 20-year-olds don't have any friggin' experience. They haven't seen life. They haven't suffered. They haven't had the joy. They've only had 4 orgasms. You know, it's sort of like there's so much more that, you know, that you guys, these antique folks, can bring to the equation that we can share. You know, this is, I think, really rich for folks. So, you know, I think it's important to be really, really, really who you are. I think it's important to be really honest. I think it's important to put yourself into your work and to acknowledge what makes you distinctive and to present more of that. I want to ask some questions. So, having listened to, and Anne, I'm coming to you first because you're the guinea pig with your hand up. Do you hear a different story from listening to these people in the webinars? Or do they sound like you? Like, what's your relationship to what you're hearing in light of what I'm saying? Anne, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, I had raised my hand a long time ago, but
that
I will
happens.
talk. Yes. No, basically, what I am looking for is, because I work in a number of different media, I feel like I have many, many voices in my work. And whenever I've had an exhibit, you know, like the one that I just had at ARC, it looks great, but I feel like there are 10 people. It's like a show of 10 people, you know? And I'm looking for a sense of unity in what I do. You know, I feel like I'm a lot of different people, and my work shows that. I'm not schizophrenic, and I've never, you know, had psychiatric counseling. So
how do you know?
Well, because I don't hear voices, and you know, I just got into PA, for example, 2 years ago, And I'm as excited about it as I am about painting. And sometimes I feel like there's a danger in that. You know, there's a danger in working in too many directions. But I love them all.
You know, this is a question I hear frequently, and I think the answer is no. I think the answer is you need to be who you are, and if you are civil, then you need to be civil. You know, and if you have, I mean, it's not like, I pretty much have eggs every day for breakfast, but most people have cereal some days, Rice Krispies, cornflakes, granola, eggs, fruit, whatever, they change. It's not like, you know, at lunch at least I have a different thing every day. You know, I don't see that everything you do has to be the same. All of these things are part of who you are. You know, I mean, if I eat bananas today and apples tomorrow, it's still me. If, you know what I mean? So that if you're expressing a certain facet of your aesthetic in part of a piece, and over here there's another facet, that's fine. For me, I think the first step for you is acceptance. This is what I do. Okay, this is what I do. Now, once you've gotten to that place, I think you can ask yourself, is this what I want to do? Now, I've been married 3 times, and my 3rd marriage is ongoing. And I think we finally got it to a really good place as a result of watching this really lousy TV show called Married at First Sight, where couples meet at the altar. You know, they submit themselves to a dating service and they don't meet until they actually get married. And then they have a legal wedding and they are forced to sit there and try and make the relationship work. And I'm watching these people trying to make the relationship work, and I turn to my wife and I go, this guy is totally run by his past. He's sabotaging his relationship. He's undermining everything he wants because of all this irrelevant bullshit from his past that is running his present, that is going to screw up his future. And she looks at me and she goes, you mean exactly like you do? And I said, uh-huh. So there's this real awareness that I've come to that I'm still grasping with, which is, yes, we can come from our past. Yes, we can acknowledge who we are, what we've done, and how we got to where we are.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I could say I have always had issues with abandonment, that I had experiences as a child with people dying all around me, and there's a sense of loss, so that when somebody leaves the house, I'm never sure whether they're coming back or not, and I have issues with that, and it gets in my way. Or I can say, Paul, you know that's really bullshit. Don't let that run you. Make an intelligent decision about what you want your future to be, and let that suck you forward. Let that, you know, let where you want to go pull you, as opposed to letting where you've been run you.
Well, what I have experienced in recent years, getting back to, and again, what you were saying, what has integrated my work has been being the designer and facilitator of 4 major mural projects. I get to work with other people, experience their talents, help to challenge them. And there are a lot of different voices working within the same works.
Totally.
So that,
you know, this is something that happens a lot with artists. The more successful you get, the more people you work with. The more people you are engaging intimately with, whether they are assisting you in making the art, or you're discussing commissions, or you're discussing museum shows, or you're discussing logistics about how things get hung. I mean, you know, initially it's a dialogue between me and my art, me and my painting, me and my knife and my bar of soap that I'm carving. But, you know, but after that, it starts opening up. I want to ask, Anne, thank you very much. I want to hear about some of your responses to webinars you've listened to and apply that to the discussion. Clara, can you address that? Is that where you're going? You are unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oops, sorry about that. I just took the muzzle of the dog and he started barking.
He said thank you. Wait a minute, I did something wrong. I muted you and not somebody. Go ahead.
Okay, about, you mentioned a lot the importance of making recognizable art.
Yes.
And if you have different voices, would that be a recognizable art, or should just listen to one of your voices more and stick with that? And
I don't, this is something each of you need to decide on your, excuse me, on your own. And like I was saying with Anne, I think lots of us have different things that we're interested in. I'm really excited about baseball, and I'm really excited about some new museum shows. These things are like in totally different directions, but they're both me. My sense is that artists think that there's big differences and people don't understand, and I'm going to confuse my audience because I'm interested in this and this and this. And artists feel like that's so much breadth. It's really wide. My experience is that when the rest of us look at what you're doing, we don't see it being anywhere near as wide as you do. And what we see is that you have more interesting facets. I'm remembering, we'll listen to a webinar later on with Jason Middlebrook, but Jason talked about how in this day and age, it's not so important to be a consistent artist, it's important to be an interesting artist. And if you are doing more different kinds of things, you're probably more interesting. If you're doing 400 things, maybe not so much. Maybe we don't have, maybe we can't find anywhere to land, to figure it out, okay?
mm-hmm.
Holly, what did you listen to and what did you like in particular? Go ahead.
Okay. I listened to all of them.
Way to go.
And yeah, I listened to Tista Gates twice, Camille twice, and Nick Cave. I sort of what they were saying resonated within me. Tista, the thing about activating space, he made the exhibition, the shows that he is having very interesting by getting the people to participate in whatever it is that he created a space for it. I really like that because it's something I've been thinking about, and I really wasn't sure whether it is workable. And Nick Cave sort of does the same thing. There's a show he did, I think, I've forgotten something about a dance. So it's something I've been thinking about. And I felt like I felt at peace after listening to them, because it meant that, to me, it meant that I'm doing the right thing for me. Okay. Camille Seaman, I think I mentioned this last.
Wait. Let me stop you because I want to make some comments and then we'll come back to Camille. I think what's interesting about Theaster Gates is that he comes from a not art tradition, and he makes art really differently. And a fair number of people think that what Theaster is doing is not art, and that he is, calling it art because it makes him more money, or it lets him do, gets him more traction. I don't have a problem with this. I mean, I think what Theaster is doing is predominantly about social engagement and having people interact as a means of addressing social issues and changing communities. I mean, Theaster says his goal is to eliminate blight, B-L-I-G-H, eliminate blight, one house, one building at a time. I think the point that I want to make here is that you can define what art is. Art is not something that somebody else defines that you must fit into. You get to define it. You get to determine your relationship with the world. These people who have gone before you give you permission to be you. They give you permission to change the world. They give you permission to express yourself. They give you permission to just create art for one person, if that's what you want to do. You are an artist. You have permission. Mark was talking when we began, Holly, and I don't know if you heard it, about Camille Seaman being the most inspirational speaker, not just about art, but inspiring. Go ahead. What did you want to say?
Okay. Something she said when she was getting into photography, she contacted someone who's an international photographer and asked him a few questions, and he told her, you know what, come with me to Tibet. And in training her, he imparted something very profound, and she talked about it, and I felt like I connected with that. Okay. She said that you have to do what is true to you, what you feel you really want to do. So when I first came to Saudi Arabia, I had difficulties because I was afraid that what I'm trying to express will be rejected by the people here. And to be honest, at first it was, okay? I do very tribal art. I come from Africa, right? And I do it because I grew up in without really knowing what my culture is. I grew up in the city, so I learned my mother tongue as a grown up and things like that. So I'm sort of trying to recapture what I really did not know about my ancestors, and that's what I'm trying to put across. So when I first started, I presented my artwork, and it was sort of rejected, and I felt really bad. So I started to paint all these Arabic pictures with mosques and things to do with prayer. I think the background, there's probably something like a hand in prayer or something like that. And I felt lost. And when I did a group show with that, my work was completely lost. So someone just told me, you know what, why don't you do what it is that you really like to do? And I started to do it. I felt more satisfied, but I was still afraid, okay? But when I listened to Camille, I felt encouraged, strengthened in that, okay?
Yep.
And then I think the last comment I want to make about Judy Ledgerwood. Her art is very, you walk into a room and it encompasses the entire space, right? So my work is larger than most of the artists I've been with in this place, right? And I've been asked several times, why do you do such big art? And the tone of voice that they use is very accusatory, you know, like, why can't you just scale it down and stuff? But the thing is, I'm as big as that. I think it's my personality that's really just coming across, and I cannot. I've tried to scale it down, but I really can't. So
perfect.
What Judy said was the way that she presents her art in a big space, it allows you to experience it rather than see it. And I connected with that. Yeah.
That's exciting. Do you know Wangechi Mutu's work?
No.
You should. She's
She's in New York. She's in New York, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And her work is also it's very different from anything I've ever come across. She does a lot of collage, okay? And it's the very first time I saw it, I was really fascinated because I didn't quite get it, but I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up some images. So my computer gets slow and I've got people online. Let me see if I can do this. So it's doing too slow at the moment. Oh, it's pretty though. Hold on. So this is Wangechi's website, and she does watercolors, and all I'm trying to show here is that they are different and we like them. But I'm not succeeding, and it's not going fast enough at the moment, so I'm not going to stick with that. Yeah, so, you know, you said something else that that's sort of interesting, and I'm trying to remember who was from Toronto. But you said you are from Africa. And I wouldn't say I'm from Africa any more than I would say I'm from North America. I would say I'm from Kenya. Why do you say you're from Africa and not Kenya, Holly?
Because when I moved to this place, it became very apparent to me that most of the world thinks Africa is a country. Yeah. When I say Kenya, like, what? Yeah. So they really don't know that. And so every time I'm talking about where I'm from, I'll always revert to Africa. Yeah. That's been my experience here.
I'm sorry, that's sad. Africa's a big place with a whole lot of shit going on. It's, okay. I would say Kenya. All right, I want somebody, Holly, thank you very much. I want somebody to tell me more about webinars that they listen to and their response and how different or similar you are from whatever you listen to. Mark, I'm coming to you because I don't see any hands. Go, Mark.
Well, first of all, I watched all the videos and I thoroughly enjoyed them. And one of the things that I wrote down here that sort of what did I learn from all this experience is, first of all, my elevator pitch is really bad.
Okay.
And my artist statement needs to be rewritten already, and I wrote it again last week. And it's like trying to hone in on what is my real goal, what is my work all about. So I think that was one of the first things that I kind of learned from all this. Another one of the questions of
Come out.
Yep.
I think it's really good for you guys to try and figure out or know what your art is about. And I think it's safe to assume that you don't have the complete answer. And that part of it in making it is to find the answer, and it grows. The answer changes, as Mark is pointing out. He might have nailed it last week, but he's a new kid this week and he's grown, and it's appropriate that there's some modification. So again, it's a process. It isn't about getting it right, and I'm aware from therapy that being happy is not a place you get to. It's not like you play hopscotch and you get to sky blue and all of a sudden, oh God, I'm happy. Happy comes from the process of getting happy. If you are pursuing happiness, that's what makes you happy. Unfortunately, once you get there, you can't stop. Because if you stop, you're no longer doing, you're not engaged, you're not happy. Happy comes from, the process of being on the road. There's no end. We're just mice on a treadmill, continuing to improve ourselves and maybe not getting anywhere, but believing we are. Mark, keep going.
Well, and part of that is is getting input from other people. It's also growing. It's also seeing my own work in a different light, even when I look at it again the second day. Is the post-visualization, I think, is very important, because a lot of things don't actually happen before you get them done. I forgot that one comment from one of the video artists of that pre-visualization. I think it was Eric Fischel, of working on the accident rather than the preconceptions. But also, I think one of the things that, in fact, this is a really interesting format of all these people in this room. It is kind of like group therapy. But I noticed that one of the things that I have done is kind of in community versus networking. I've done a lot of networking, but I kind of understand community, but I do more networking. But for instance, I just wrote down a couple of the locations. France. I was Skyping with a friend of mine from Brittany this morning. We're regular Skypers, and a lot of what she's saying is what I heard from one of the people here, of moving around every couple of years. How do you keep a gallery? We go through this reinvention. She and I go through this reinvention every time we speak. Little Rock. I was in a show there at the Delta exhibition. Great exhibition. You need to apply for that. I forgot the person's name.
Jeff.
Jeff, yes. I see a picture there. The Big Island. Magical place. I was there one time and did reach out to a gallery there. And that there's a lot of opportunities even in Hilo there. Massachusetts. I was just invited to a show in it's not too far from Salem, between Salem and Boston. I've already forgotten the name of it, but a lady from Oklahoma City moved there. My point is that there's a lot of, quote, networking that I do, and I would be happy to share any of this information with anyone here who might email me about it. But forming that community, that is a new kind of a concept for me, because I have a huge community of people, and I now include Clyde in my Oklahoma City community. But a lot of that maybe is networking versus community. But I guess where I'm going with this is that I don't know if my artwork would fit into that kind of community social involvement. I know that's the kind of the 5D work that everyone is doing these days, you know, well beyond, you know, 2, 3, and 4 dimensions. It's all 5D work is what I call this. And I'm not sure that pertains to my work, but I'm loving the fact of seeing how can that become part of my work. I have a show in 2 years that I'm just now putting together and thinking what I know some of the 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional objects in it, but how do I involve community? So it's gotten me to thinking along those lines of how do I involve my local community here with what I'm doing.
Beautiful. Let me say some things. Yeah. We'll listen to Dawood Bey later on, and I need to send you some stuff about Dawood. Dawood differentiates between networking and growing community, and I think it's an important distinction. And I think this is an attitude that I hope you guys come to own. I think networking is pretty much, hi, what can you do for me? And I think community is pretty much, hi, what can we do for each other? And I think growing community is a whole lot better. I think it's like, you're in this pond and I'm in this pond, and gee, if I help you, something good happens to me too. And then they turn around and go, well, what can I do back for you? I think it's a whole lot better attitude. It's not like, hi, can I have your card? Okay, bye. It's like, hi, what are you interested in? Oh, me too, cool, let's talk about it. That's growing community. And that's where connections happen. And that's where magic happens, because you don't have if you try and network and you say, what can you do for me? And the person is kind of agreeable, they're going to wait to hear from you before they do anything. And maybe then they're going to say, yeah, that'll be $28 an hour. But if you're growing community and they go, what are you interested in? What am I interested in? They're likely to call you back in a day and go, hey, Mark, you mentioned this thing about something I'm interested in. Let's talk about that some more. And by the way, you mentioned so-and-so. Can I help you? All of a sudden, you're engaged. I don't know. I'm a little reluctant to mention this. I guess I'm doing it. 3 years ago this month, I was told I'd be dead in 6 months. 5 doctors told me that I had 2 kinds of stage 4 cancer and 6 months to live. If the doctors had told me I had 1 kind of cancer, I would have said, okay, you guys fix me. As soon as they told me I had 2 kinds of stage 4 cancer, I figured they were out of their element, and I needed to take responsibility. And I needed to figure out how to make my life work so that I can continue to hang out with you guys. So when I talk about generosity, my notion basically is to give you guys more than as much as I can, so that you feel like I've done a good thing and I'm generous, so you turn around and you do something generous. And all of a sudden, all these good things start coming back into my life. It is absolutely amazing. It is not linear. What succeeds for me is creating scenarios whereby I can create a good time. If I put out good energy, if I engage with you and you and you and you, 2 of you are going to turn around and call me up and go, Paul, that was really cool. That was good shit. I feel better. Thank you so much. And all of a sudden, I feel like I have contributed. I have made a difference. I am worthy. I am entitled to hang out on this planet a little bit longer because I am making a difference. I don't feel guilty about being here. I feel like I am helping you guys accomplish something. I think if you have so I'm not saying that, first of all, it bugs me when people go, I'm so sorry for you. I don't know that I would trade in having 2 kinds of cancer for not having them. Weird. I'm fucking kicking ass. I'm doing really well. It's really exciting. I've learned a whole lot of stuff from this. But it is important to create scenarios whereby you can't fuck with yourself. You know, if you want to have gallery shows, you have to create, I have to create scenarios where I don't undermine myself. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I don't feel like doing this today. If I say something nice and Mark goes, hey, Paul, how you doing? Let's get going. Come on, we got shit to do. Let's go. You know, so if you're involved with somebody else, if you're giving, you know, when I get depressed or I get sad, the most significant thing I can do is be nice to somebody else. Because in the process, I get outside myself. I'm not thinking about what a sad fuck I am. I'm thinking about how I did something nice for somebody, and then they say thank you, and then I feel like, oh, I'm not a schmuck. I'm a decent guy. I did something nice, and they said thank you. Okay, fine. If I can figure out ways to do that on a recurring basis, I can thrive. And this is kind of what I'm suggesting to you guys, is to create scenarios, outreach, engagement, where you are involved with the world, where you feel like you are making a difference, where you know people are waiting to hear from you, where somebody wants to see what that blue looks like that you just laid down because it's interesting. And then they can go, whoa, you just did something I've never seen. You know, when you can create that, you know, you're propelled. It's like you've got a big tailwind, and you can really push forward and accomplish stuff. So part of this is the whole thing that I'm trying to, I guess, deliver is that if you are who you are and you're trying to be more who you are, people relate to that, and they like that, and they get the sensitivity and the vulnerability. Vulnerability is important, that you bring to that, and it touches their heart, and you create some kind of connection. You know, I think it's possible with the internet. I think it's nice when two people go out and lay down side by side in the grassy field, hold hands and look up at the stars, and, you know, they're together, and, you know, it's beautiful and the world falls away. But, you know, we live in an internet age, and I think there are all kinds of ways to create heartfelt connections that engage us with the world, that let us know that what we are doing is massively important. There's a whole lot of shit going on out in the world, if you guys haven't noticed, and it's the artists who make it a better place. It's the artists who give us hope. That's what you guys got to do. Whoa, that was a rant. Margaret, your hand is up. You're unmuted, Margaret. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to say, because there's not so much time left, I think. But
it doesn't matter. I'm not worried about the clock.
Okay. Well, I noticed that Nick Cave, Esther Gates, and Camille Seaman, they all said a few things that sounded the same. So one thing that really impressed me and I thought was very interesting was taking time for yourself, because and that interests me because I've been wanting, like I guess many artists, connect with galleries and museums, get big shows and so on, and tried very, very hard to get into all these places, and managed to get into some interesting places, but then when I was there, it wasn't as interesting as I thought. So then I also realized actually, Nick Cave, I think, he was saying that like when he works with a gallery, he tells the gallery what he wants. So that was like a light coming up suddenly. Oh, as an artist, I'm in a position to actually ask, what I want. But I mean, taking time for yourself, I think that's a really, really interesting concept, because I feel that when you try too hard to get to somewhere, you don't give other people a chance to there is no exchange going on, because you're pushing too hard.
Very true. I have some things to say in response to that. First of all, so many of you are applying or submitting yourself your art to galleries. I don't think that's the right way to go. I'm not sure that's the wrong way to go, but I don't think it's the right way to go. I think the right way to go is to create relationships with humans.
Yeah.
An art gallery is not a human, and you are seeking to create a relationship between your art and a building.
Mm-hmm.
I think you are better served by a relationship between yourself and another human. In particular, let's say the relationship with the gallery building works and they love your art because it is beautiful portraits of goldfish. And they don't like you too much, but they can sell your art. You know, and 5 years later, you decide that you don't want to paint portraits of goldfish anymore. You want to paint portraits of corn, and they don't like you, and goodbye. But if you have a relationship with a human, and they like your heart and your soul and your way of seeing the world, they still like you as a human being later on, right? When you grow. It's a relationship with you as a human. This is where it happens. This
Can I
is
say
a message,
something?
one sec. This is a message that I am going to have to repeat to you 1,000 times.
I gotta go.
It is about relationships with other humans. It is about being generous with other humans. Margaret, go ahead.
Yeah, this is exactly what you're saying now, that I got so fed up with working with galleries and taking my work there and nothing much happens, that I decided to get more in contact with the public, get in contact with people, and that's when I started to do more participatory performative works. Because then I can work with people, and I can go into the community, I can collaborate with musicians and dancers and so on. And I'm not just hanging things on walls.
So when a person goes to a gallery, usually they say, hi, here's my art. Isn't it wonderful? Don't you totally want to show my art? Aren't I great? You know, let's go back to the neighborhood thing and walking down the block, and you see a person walking a dog towards you that you've never seen, and they look interesting. Hi, interesting person. Hello, my name is Susie. I'm wonderful. I make really pretty art. Aren't I great? That person's going to look at you and go, excuse me, but could you get out of my way? You know, and then instead if you say, hi, nice to see you. Welcome to the neighborhood. They're going to go, hi, nice to see you too. Everything is that simple. It just takes a long time to figure it out. All right, so I need to send you some things. I think it is important to have an artist statement. As a gallery, when I had a gallery, I hated reading them. I think they're pretty close to worthless. I think it's important to write it. I think, like Mark, it helps you focus on what the hell you're doing with your art. It's a vehicle to help you. I will send you, a guide that Dawood Bey wrote about artist statements. And if you would like me to review your artist statement, please look at Dawood's guide. I really like it better than anybody else's. And usually people say, here's my artist statement, it's pretty good. And then they send it to me and I go, no, read Dawood's guide and then send it to me again. So do what you want, but read the damn guide and then see how close yours is. And then if you'd like me to send it to you, fine. The goal is not for you to make it the way I want it. The goal is for you to make it the way you want it. And I will share my response, but you should make it how you want it. I will tell you it's wonderful or whatever. I mean, and an artist statement is a kind of thing that somebody might stick on the wall outside your small museum exhibit that explains something about what they're going to see when they walk into the room. It should not be all inclusive. and I don't know that it needs to be written as often as Mark is doing it, but every 6 months to visit it isn't a bad exercise. I also think it's important to have an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is so called because you get on the elevator and somebody says, "Hi, what do you do?" And you've got like 12 seconds to tell them before the door opens and the conversation is over. So I say things like, I haven't said this in a long time. I teach an online course to empower visual artists by demystifying the art world. See, I'm starting to get stuck. But all right, so I need like 4 more words. That kind of thing. Frequently, you can tell I'm not a huge advocate of art speak. I can do it, but I don't like it. I like talking about art in the same language that humans use when they communicate. I think all of you are more intelligent about your art than most of your audience. Therefore, it isn't like you have to talk more intelligently about your art. You might have to talk less intelligently about your art. I think it would be really cool to find a high school kid, maybe in your family, and say, "Hi, high school kid, this is what my art is about. Tell me what you heard me just say." And then you listen to what they say and you go, "Oh, I better change what I said." If you do not have a high school kid, I think public transportation works really well. Good luck with that one. But you could be on the bus and you can say to the person, "Hi, I'm an artist. I need to practice my little spiel. Can I say something to you?" The worst they can say is, "Excuse me, I'm getting off now." But, you know, maybe they're going to go, "Yeah, sure." But, you know, I mean, you're never going to see them again. They might say, "That sounded pretty good." Or they might say, "What are you talking about?" And maybe they're going to say, "That's fascinating. I'm a collector. Can I buy some?" You know, you never know. So, but I think to try and practice speaking about your art with normal people, and children, I think, are normal people, is a good way to go. Also, and lastly with my comments, I'm assigning, that's not the right word, but maybe you will listen to 30, 40 webinars during the course. They're like 300. Some of them are frigging amazing. A lot of them are amazing. If you go to this screen on my website, where it says experts, it's coming. But this is the same thing. I mean, I've sent you a link to this list. And this list, come on, will show you, gives a summary of what all the different webinars are about. And if you ask me, "Paul, I really need something about such and such," maybe there's a webinar that covers that and I can tell you, and maybe not. But these things, oops. Oh, I guess I shortened them. There were more. So at any rate, there's a whole lot of stuff that you guys are totally, entirely invited to indulge in. All right, I've had about enough for tonight, but I'm willing to stick around and answer some more comments or questions if somebody wants. Margaret, your hand is still up. Do you want to say something? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything before we wrap it up? I'm good. We can talk if you like. Go ahead. Tell you what I'm going to do. Everybody is now unmuted. If somebody didn't figure out how to, if somebody wants to just blurt and say something, go ahead.
I have a question about Daoud's guide. Will
Yep.
it become obvious to us once we read it, or can you tell us why it is that guide is important to you?
I like it. I'm going to try and pull it up so I can show you, but it's going to take me a second. I mean, basically it just says, talk about what you're doing, explain who the antecedents are. Don't try and tell people why they should like your art. Tell them what's going on. Tell them who influenced you. I mean, you know, it's pretty basic, as it should be.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I really enjoyed the diversity of the people that on the list that you had us watch. And
Good.
as I turned it on, like I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning. I fell asleep watching it because it was like brain cells just exploded with all this information that I was just dying to hear, that I didn't know that well, I mean, that's why I'm on the course, but it was pretty exciting. And I believe that all of them they have this genius. They may not be geniuses, but they traveled a path that allowed them to believe in themselves, and then it just grew and grew, and it was just so fun to watch that with every single person.
I don't think that's any different than who you are.
Each of us. Well, I hope, right?
Yeah. You know, one thing that's really interesting to me is Nick Cave, who is unequivocally the most shy person I have met in my life. And in that webinar, I said, Nick, how do you get over yourself? What do you do? And he says, like, I'm a messenger. This is interesting because I don't think all artists think of themselves as a messenger. I mean, I talked about you guys as being part-time small shamans and how you're a leader, you create your own faith. But Nick sees himself as a messenger, not as the leader. And he sees himself as a person who must communicate a message. And he says, yeah, I'm shy, but what kind of messenger am I if I don't do my job? So yeah, you can be shy, but you guys are artists. You have a message to communicate. You have yourself to deliver to the world. It's an amazing gift. And the trick is to figure out how to get out of our own way so that we can do what we are meant to do. All right. Anybody else want to say anything? Beth, I see your hand sort of waving. Go ahead.
Yeah. When I first read about Camille Seaman, and she said that she loved making something from nothing, that so resonated with me because I've always felt that way. Even when I make dinner.
Perfect.
I love the challenge.
She was born right around the corner from you, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. And Dawood Day, I loved his attitude also, and his thought to be, you have to be really tough, have a tough skin to be able to handle comments and criticism and not take it personally, and just look at it and then weigh it out. And that's one of the things that I've used in my life. I didn't have it all my life, but I developed it. And then Nick Cave, just doing things, just do it. These are the things that stood out for me. And also Eric Fischel about being vulnerable, how important that is. Because you need to be truthful, you need to be honest and vulnerable and put yourself out there. And those things have all worked for me. And what you just said about talking to students about your statement, your artist statement. Well, I taught elementary art for 20 years. And I thought it would be easier, I got the job, so I just did it. But I always wanted to teach high school or college, and I'd done both those things at different times. But teaching the elementary kids was so important because you just had to be basic with them, and you had to distill everything you knew into a way that they could understand. So one of the most basic things I taught them was the energy goes from your eyes to your head, to your heart, to your hands, to the paper. And they all got that.
That's cool.
And they went home and they told their parents that. And I say that to myself when I get too complicated. When I get too many things going in too many directions, I just go, let it go through.
You remind me to talk about this generosity thing. I remember when I had a gallery and, a high school group would come in and I'd sit there and, we'd talk to the high school kids about the stuff. I didn't make any money or do anything. You do it because you believe in art. And then a year later, some mom came in and she said, I'd like to buy this small painting for $3,000 for my son for his graduation present because he really liked you when he came to the course. When came to your gallery with his class. Oh, whoa! So you never know. I mean, I think it's a decent human value to try and be nice.
Yeah.
I suspect it pays off anyway. It's like, I think you should do it because it's practical.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, it absolutely. The more you open you are and the more you give, then the more you receive, even if you don't want it. you know, it just comes back at
Dawood, you talk about Dawood. Dawood's insanely generous. The man is really
so.
sharp. He's a brilliant teacher,
Yeah.
college professor, and he shares this stuff to all kinds of people who are not paying tuition, you know? And I think it comes back in nice ways.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment? Paul, one sec. I am not in the habit of sending out reminders that we're going to meet next Monday at 7 o'clock. I believe you kids are adults and you can figure out you're supposed to show up, and I don't have to send you a note home with your mom or something like that. I will send you a recording probably tomorrow morning of this discussion. You can see what the homework is. I don't plan on sending you a homework assignment. I believe you are adults. Paul, proceed.
Yeah,
Louder, get closer to your the computer, okay?
I loved all the folks. I loved them all.
Hold on, Paul, get closer. I can barely hear you, okay?
I loved all the folks that you assigned to us, and I loved what they had to say. Just putting it through your lens of talking about vision and structure, I was taken with how early on in the process of so many of them, who I wouldn't think would be that way. Maybe maybe Nick Cave is the biggest example of that, but Eric Fischel and so many of them talked about their sort of strategy about making their work find its place, and they talked about the word competition, and it was I just centered my life on making work and making the work and making it be whether it's assigned or whatever, making it be how I see it, as close to be as how I see it to be. But what I see in them is what Eric Fischel talked about, about sexuality in his work, and said, I can do that. I'll do it my way, and that sort of thing. But that is a strategy, and so it's like a gift to hear these people talk about it. And Nick Cave is like the best businessman you can talk to, so it's so interesting to hear these people who are wildly successful, both in their vision, but also in the way their strategy works for them to get them out into the world to make connections with the things that you talk about. So I don't know if do you have a thought about an additional thought about that?
A little bit. I don't know that I hear those folks talk about strategy so much, and I'm not disagreeing with your take. It's that we picked up different things. In the discussion last week, I talked about the difference between vision and strategy, and these are my terms. And I think vision is like religion. It's the stuff that's not negotiable. You're either a Mac or you're a PC, and you are what religion you are. If somebody explains a different religious attitude to you, you go, okay, that's nice, hope it works for you. But you're still, what religion you are, and logic doesn't seem to affect it very much. I think that's the same thing with your aesthetic. This is what I do. After that comes the strategy. What do I do with what I do? I think Nick comes from a place where he grew up in the middle of the country, in a rural area, looking at the sky and seeing a lot of light and stars, and being a farm kid and having an African-American ancestry and trying to reconcile all that. So I think his work is about self-discovery and about figuring out who he is, and then with an awareness of who he is going forward and saying, this is who I is, this is who I am, this is how I engage, how does it relate to you? And a lot of people, I think, see how it relates. So I think strategy for Nick is, do I do this publicly? How big do I do this? Do I do these things publicly and then do I sell the evidence, or do I store the evidence? Those are the kinds of strategical questions. But I think the vision question is, this is what, this is my aesthetic, this is what I have to put out into the world.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I was just taken about a bit by how good they were with strategy and how, but it wasn't like a fake thing. It was part of who they were, and from making community or whatever. Strategy is still part of putting it in context. I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely. All right. Anybody else want to say something? I've got it all. Somebody could wave a hand if they want to or not. I don't see any motion. All right.
I would just make one comment that I was just surprised that Eric Fischel made the comment that none of his he got into no in-depth conversations with his collectors. And I would think that someone of that caliber, that they would not collect him without knowing more of what he's doing. I was just shocked by his comment there.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, you guys, you notice that the meeting number, that's my phone number. I do not like phone calls. I don't mind text messages. Because I take naps most days, and because I do chemo most days. Text messages don't interrupt my naps, phone calls do. So I will send you guys an email tomorrow morning with a recording. Hopefully I'll remember to give you something about an artist statement. And one more thing. If somebody wants to step up and create a Facebook page for Klein Artist Works 21, that would only be for you guys if you want to share your images there. It's kind of nice. Some of these things last longer than the course, some don't. Does somebody want to take responsibility? All right, Carrie, you are in charge of that. Send that and then invite me, and then I'll invite the rest.
Okay.
Cool. All right, you guys. Say hello, goodbye to everybody, and I will see you in a week. Thanks all. Good night. Be well.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye all. Good night.
Bye.